In the first episode, I showed you the facade of the house and the entry hall. Now let's open these glass doors and enter the hallway. As you can see, the style of this hallway is much different from the 17th century entry. The difference in style is explained in the story I created of the history of the house. In 1893, a fierce fire breaks out and sadly destroys part of the top floors. Singel 224 is then sold, and the new owners have the building restored, changing the hallway and stairs and incorporating the ideas of the arts and crafts movement. This hallway was the first room I worked on, starting with the staircase. I wanted it to look different from the staircase which came with the house, and after trying out several options, this is how it turned out. The angle at which to saw the banister was a true mystery to me. I just could not get it right. Then a carpenter friend explained to me that in real life, a specially cut angled piece is fitted between the two parts of the banister. Not being able to cut one of these angled pieces from wood at that time, I managed to make one using molds and resin, which I then painted. It's not perfect, but I was so happy with it. My carpenter friend gave me a large quantity of beautiful teak, which I've used for the paneling, the doors, the door handles, the risers on the stairs, and the parquet flooring. For the floor, I took my inspiration from Versailles, using geometric patterns within large rectangles. The floor has been laid and glued onto card, and then sanded and waxed. As I mentioned in the first episode as well, at this early stage I did not have many tools, nor much knowledge of techniques for that matter, so the staircase, the wall panels and the flooring have all been cut with a craft knife and a simple handsaw. Of course, by then I had also discovered doll's house fairs in my country, and I started collecting little bits and pieces to fill the house with, like this Kelly bag by Patricia Santi and the embroidered 70s bag by Annelies de Kort. On the left, there is a collection of walking sticks in a vase by Elisabeth Cozeret. The walking sticks are mostly ebony, ivory and silver and made by Vona's Miniaturen. Where the entry had a wintry feel, the hallway has a definite autumnal character to it, with rich warm colors, a dried sunflower, and a vase with oak leaves and rose hips in it. The wallpaper is a William Morris design called Trellis. The arts and crafts hall table was made by Carrie Bloom, and the ginger jars were made by Elisabeth Cozeret. The little plate on the left is the result of my first porcelain painting class with Kokkie Wildschut. The design is from the 9 Japanese Arita plates in the beautiful kitchen of the Petronelle Oortman doll's house at the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam. In the corner of the hallway... Sorry! What? I forgot to put the chair back. Oh! Well, that chair is an arts and crafts design by McMurdo, and it was made by Small Time Miniatures. Behind it, on the back wall, is my favorite piece of the room, a miniature version of John William Waterhouse's Ophelia, painted by Ellie Ipma. The wooden frame was made by me, and I gilded it with real 23-karat gold leaf. The carved chest below it, depicting a 14th century French jousting scene, was made by Anne High. On it some more pottery by Elisabeth Coseret and a silver fruit stand made by me in a Jens Torp class. The watercolor above the door was also made by me. It is a very Dutch scene of pollarded willows in the snow. This snowscape brings the wintry feel of the entry into the hallway. Now, let's see what's behind door number 3. This is the dining room. The arrangement of this room is loosely based on early 18th century designs. In the story of my house, this room survives the Great Fire, leaving many of the 18th century details intact. I started working on this room at the same time as the hallway in 2003. I decided to make removable wall panels so I could easily access all of the wiring for the lighting. It also made it easier to work on the wallpaper and the wall panels, as I could work on my desk. The disadvantage of the removable walls is that, especially now 18 years later, in some places the gaps between the walls and the ceilings are quite visible, which I must say really annoys me. But when I'm working on the lights or the wiring, I'm happy with my decision. Many years later, after I bought a milling machine, I was able to create the lovely curved wooden shapes of the ceiling panel. The painting in it is a copy of one I found in a real canal house. As opposed to the hallway, which is quite dark, this is a light room because it has 3 windows. I made the silk curtains from an antique Indian sari, but I think I'll redo them one day because they look rather stiff and unnatural. These beautiful chairs by the windows were made by John Hodgson. There are 6 of them in this room. 4 of them are side chairs and 2 of them have armrests. They are used as dining chairs, but after dinner they're put back against the wall. Following the trends of the 17th and 18th century, I built 2 open buffets on either side of the fireplace to house my growing collection of porcelain and silver. This 18th century sketch was my inspiration for them. Most of the blue and white porcelain in my collection is by Kokkie Wildschut and Henny Staring-Egberts, and most of the silver is by Jens Torp. I also have some silver pieces by Pieter Kisto, Mike Sparrow, Jean-Claude Martin and Stephen J. Randall, as well as 1 or 2 pieces I make myself and 2 antique boxes. And there are some treasures by other makers as well. There are even more treasures in the buffet on the left, like this fantastic Imari bowl and cover in silver and porcelain, which was a collaboration piece between Jens Torp and Henny Staring-Egberts. Like the Imari bowl, many of these pieces are very dear to me, as they commemorate a special event in my life, like a birthday or anniversary. But they are all wonderful treasures to me, and the great thing is, there's still room for more. One of my favorite pieces of furniture in my collection is this wonderful birdcage tilt-top table made by Mark Gooch. It has a beautifully carved fluted column and carved knees, and gorgeous ball and claw feet. Another cherished piece in my collection is this silver kettle and spirit lamp on a tripod floor stand. It was made by Mike Sparrow. In the late 17th and early 18th century, Dutch influence on English furniture was enormous, and the furniture of the two countries at that time bears striking similarities. This was partly due to the crowning of the Dutch Prince William as King of England in the late 17th century. So although many of my silver and furniture miniatures are copies of English pieces made by English miniaturists, they look quite at home in my Dutch canal house. By the mid-18th century, Dutch furniture and interiors are influenced by the French Rococo style. The wallpaper here on the left wall and the ornament I painted above the marble door are both 18th century designs. And the portrait represents Martha, the 18th century owner of my canal house. In my story, that is. I painted the portrait in watercolors, after part of a painting from around 1715, which I'd seen at the Victoria and Albert Museum in London. On a chair to the left of the portrait sits Little Martha, the doll version of my portrait subject. The hearth of the Sukuk fireplace is guarded by a pair of beautiful Louis XV fire dogs, with the figures of a man and a woman reclining on scrolling bases. Typically Rococo pieces, cast in silver, at my request, by Jean-Claude Martin. He also cast the wall sconces in silver for me. The installation of the wall sconces was an easy job, and I must admit that my idea of removable wall panels isn't necessary if the wiring for the lighting goes to the back of the house, like it does here. Out of the many rooms I've created over the years, and there have been quite a few, this dining room, with all of its little flaws and faults, is still my favorite.